Man, it's good to be together again.
Amen.
It seems like it's been minutes since I've seen y'all.
So long. So long. Yes, yes. I saw a TikTok, mentioned it to y'all just a little bit ago. TikTok guy who is trying to quote something, and he's obviously purposely messing it up, but he says, you know what they say, teach a man to fish, eat him for a day. Eat a man to fish, feed him for tomorrow. I mean, like, just all these different things of trying to mess it up and then, or trying to get it right, but he goes, you know what they say, eat a man a fish, lead him to water, can't make him fish. I mean, like, he keeps struggling with it. And I know that sounds completely random for our audience, but the quote we're thinking of is by Benjamin Franklin: by failing to prepare, you are preparing to fail. And did I get that right?
Yeah.
Okay, I've been trying to mess up these other ones. You know, preparation, failure. Failure, preparation. I don't know.
Yeah.
Preparation H. Oh,
No.
Lead a man to prepare.
Make him fail.
Make him fail. Oh, man.
Okay. So we're going to talk about sermon series today, aren't we?
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Welcome to Minister Meets Machine, the podcast helping ministers use AI wisely, ethically, and effectively in real ministry. With your hosts, Brandon Jackson, Caleb Kelsey, and Dale Jenkins. Thanks for joining us.
Well, now preacher shows a man with a Bible in his hand. Looked up at the feet and said, I've got a plan. We fired up this laptop high to set on high. Well, I'm preaching the gospel with a little AI.
All right, so why is a plan so important?
I do a whole seminar on planning sermons. So we ain't got that long.
Yeah.
But there are all sorts of benefits. You get to go deeper into subjects when you do a series, when you are kind of prepared and know what you're doing. You build some space in between a sermon where, you know, a sermon marinates during the week. And you, before you preach it, and your people after you preach it. And so it has some time for it to marinate from week to week. You avoid the Saturday night specials, as one of my teachers in college called them, you know, where Saturday night at midnight, so you got to find something to preach and rush around to do it. And I imagine most of us have been there. I want to say we've all been there, but as sure as I say that, I'm going to get an email from somebody saying, I never went to that.
Sure.
I'm always totally prepared. Well, good for you, bud.
So you use the imagery of marinating. So how long do you usually dry age meat? I've never dry aged meat, but isn't it? I mean, you could do
A long
time. So I think about if you've planned far enough in advance. I'm talking months. If you've gone several months, even potentially a year, that helps you. In the back of your mind, you are going to be having some thoughts every now and then about that sermon that's coming up way later, and that's only going to make it better.
Well, it's not just that. You're watching the news at night, and a story comes on it. So, that's on the thing that a preaching made.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely.
Jot it down.
Yep.
You're reading bulletin articles. Oh, look, here's one. I've got a sermon comes on in September. Here's some points I may be able to pull something from and just toss in the file.
Yep.
Yeah, you're right. And marinating is, and we literally do a series every year. 2 or 3 sermon planning retreats. And I'm sorry I don't advertise for the Institute, but if you're interested in them, let us know.
It's a great resource.
We'd love to have you and put you in one of those because they're very useful to people. All right.
And I think about the things in our lives ultimately that matter. We typically plan for. I mean, so there a minority of people elope if you decide to do that. Not smack talking you, but usually weddings are planned a long time in advance, and things that really matter, you take your time to plan to do it the best you can. Military, gracious, we're going to plan things, and it's going to take forever. We're going to change plans, and you're going to pull out your hair, but eventually the job does get done, and we planned it out.
And it comes off looking like, man, that worked so well. And you don't realize they spent hundreds of thousands of man hours putting that whole thing together.
Yes.
It didn't just happen.
No,
they
it
didn't
didn't.
wake up that morning and decide we're going to go in and we're going to take that drug guy they took
Yeah.
that recently. They probably had a little planning going in there. I hope
yes,
they did
yes.
anyway.
But we're in
Overnight musical successes are never overnight.
Never.
They've
One
been
night.
playing. They've been playing years and years and years and years and prep for that, and we see and I like to think that not all activity is equal. We have tragic events happen, and the clamor is for something to be done. And a lot of times people don't really care what is done, as long as something is done. There's some type of activity in order to address this calamity that is, and it's like, no, like, let's think about what the right action is instead of just taking action. And I know personally I found when I wasn't planning the year in advance, or at least planning my sermons out in advance, I had a lot of activity. I still preached a sermon every single Sunday, but that didn't mean that I was accomplishing what I could have accomplished. The activity was there, it just wasn't directed.
Well, you think about deeper congregational growth. We all have areas that we're better in than others as preachers, and it's easy to fall into those things if we don't plan it through, and the congregation's not going to grow as much. They haven't grown in giving because we haven't preached on giving.
Yeah.
You know, they haven't grown in spiritual disciplines in their life because we've never talked about spiritual disciplines. All our sermons are how-to sermons because we like to preach how-to sermons. All our sermons are from the Old Testament, character studies, whatever. And just we end up spotty.
Okay, so we see some great importance. So if we're starting, let's say I've never planned that far in advance. I've kind of just gone sermon by sermon. Maybe I've done a few series if I'm preaching a text, I've gone through that, but I haven't really created a plan for my preaching. Where's the best place to start initially?
Yeah. I a few times I have taken to AI and been like, hey, this is what I've preached on, and I haven't been here quite yet 2 years. What should I maybe preach on within your first 2 years? Did I hit some things that I should have, and what did I miss? And kind of hear some good ideas of, oh yeah, I do need to preach on that and get there. That'll make you think.
Yeah.
But that's it, a similar way of reaching out to one of y'all two, saying, hey, here's what I've preached on. What should I have preached on? And what can I do better in the next 2 years?
We get regular. We'll get the word. We're trying to do a summer series. You got any ideas what we can do a summer series on? We've done 5 summer series, and I'm out of ideas.
Yeah.
And so that's something, we'll do surveys on that and give people good ideas and everything. So So again, this is an AI podcast. So what are some things AI can do to help us in the generating and the idea of coming up with the summer series?
And what I have found helpful is to ask AI to scour YouTube channels that are sermons, scour the internet for published sermons, and then scour Facebook for sermon ideas and titles.
Yeah.
And then give me a list of the top 6 commented on, liked, shared series.
Neat.
Yeah.
And it will go through and do that work. It'll find those things for you. So it's not perfect, but it does give me ideas that seem to be well received by a large. Now, I'm not specific to any group or anything like that. I just want to know what topics, what themes, what series people are reacting to.
Yeah.
And AI is really good about going in and finding those interactions and then telling you.
I think this is my first year right now at Stroudsville, where this is the first year that I've planned an entire year roughly of sermons. So the theme for the year is to Him, Ephesians 3:21, to Him be glory. And the way I was able to put this together, and I think I'm recalling this correctly, I had different ideas of, I want to preach on this, I want to preach on that, I want to preach on this over here too. And I knew I wanted to preach on textual something. So a little bit of expository topical thing going through Genesis. We finished that up. But as I'm planning this, I go, I want to preach on Genesis. I want to preach on broken people. Like just people that are just they're struggling with grief, anxiety, all these money issues, all you can think of. And kind of examples from Scripture, but practical. How do we do this? What was it? Okay, I want to preach on worship. And then I kind of was like, I don't know what, I need to preach on something else. Kind of 4 quarters, I guess, is how I'll do it. And I went to the chat and I'm like, okay, so here's kind of what I want to do. how could I've got 52 Sundays roughly. I won't preach all of them, but most of them. And I want to expand this Genesis sermon series where I hit most of the main lessons. And then for my worship, I'm going to have maybe 6 lessons. Here they are. And then this one, I'm going to have this many. And then this one, I'm going to have this many. What's a good theme title for this whole thing? And it helped me get to finalize it to him. And then each of the 4 have been broken down to know him in Genesis. So we keep the phrase to him, to know him, to praise him, to trust him is going to be a series called Faith Under Fire, looking at the broken people. And then to follow him is stories of people following Jesus. But AI was a good helper there. Now, this all started with friends, basically. We were sitting Sunday night, I think, at Sonic, and we're like, hey, I kind of want to preach on broken people. And we had, you got to preach on this, that, and the other. But then taking it to AI of how can I make this just better? Right. That's a practical example. And
Yeah.
Y'all have at it. I haven't talked too long.
No, I think that is good to see how you were able to work through AI to get to a result that fits your work, and you're directing that work, and it's assisting you to accomplish that goal. If you were in that conversation and somebody else was working that, what did you use any certain prompt? How are you asking AI to help you?
Okay, going off of memory, how I probably did it. I think so for my series, to trust him, Faith Under Fire. I think what I probably did was I probably put in, I want to preach on Job and grief. I want to preach on Joseph, maybe betrayal, or just getting just. Every turn it didn't work out for him. Right. All these different people, Elijah, loneliness, all these different things of people just struggling, and I'd give some ideas, and I'd go, okay, I think 2 or 3 more. Who am I not thinking of?
Yeah.
And it would come back with here's some idea. It could give me 10 more, and I go, I don't like that. I like this, and so I'd take what I needed. But it would typically start with, this is something I think I could do.
Now, you use chat for that. Claude would be better, wouldn't it?
I think Claude helps brain mapping. Like, it helps formulate those ideas and bring in other things. It's going to see more of where you already think, how you already think, and it's going to. You're not going to have to cast out so much. It's going to be a more curated list for how you're thinking, what you've already done. It's going to take more of that stuff into consideration. So Claude would provide probably a better answer for that, and it's probably going to come up with. Chat will come up with some stuff that you're like, oh yeah, I didn't think of that. Claude's going to come up with several of them that are like, oh, that's really smart.
This series,
really
I've been feeling something off about this, and I just need to go to Claude.
Yes.
Well, so I've got a series I'm doing out in California in a few months. Church called me and want me to do they do a series every year, and so they asked me to come. First time I've been out there, and they gave me a really unusual title. They said, "What you doing, family?" Okay. Well, in my mind, I thought, okay, marriage, finding a mate, how to build your faith in your family, all those things. I thought, I've got sermons on the family, plenty of them.
Yeah.
I've preached a long time. But then it said, we want it to relate to both family and to the church. So, now I see church is family, but I've got to mesh those two together.
Yeah.
And so Claude is going to help me with that. Like, that'll help me come up with the specifics of how do I pull these two together within the context of stuff that I do, stuff that I preach, and it'll help me out a little bit. So, all right. So, did you come up with this 3-prompt idea, or
Do what now?
did you come up with this 3-prompt idea, or is that?
Yes.
Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So, I think that there are prompts that we can use to help us, and so I want to have a goal in mind, where I want a series to go, or where I want a theme to go, what I'm trying to accomplish, and then how do I progress? Because we've got to start somewhere. We should have kind of a middle, and then we get to that finish line. And what I've found is a lot of times I'll skip steps. I'll think I'm at the beginning, and then I think I'm building to the next step, and AI is looking at it and they're saying, that's a big stride. that's you're reaching
They're too quick.
pretty far, and so it helps me kind of dial that down, and then once I've got that progression, then I can fill out those lessons for it. So typically I'm year, theme, idea, and then I'm getting that progression, so that's quarter or even monthly, and then within that month I need lessons each Sunday to flesh out that. So those 3 prompts, how do I create, or help me create this yearly thought, help me see if I'm making this progression right, like within that idea I know I want to cover this and this, what's the best way to arrange that. Chat and AI is really good about, if you tell it to take into account holidays, special events, things like that.
Got a holiday thing for you.
Yeah.
Okay, just here's a commercial break for us. Mother's Day. You got to preach on Mother's Day. You got to preach about mothers on Mother's Day.
Yes.
And so when you first start, that's a lot of fun. But when you've been doing it for 30 or 40 years, you're kind of out of Mother's Day stuff. Okay. And so here's you get really angry if on December the 28th you preach about the birth of Jesus, and they'll say you shouldn't focus on a holiday. Those same guys on Mother's Day are going to preach a Mother's Day sermon.
Yeah.
Really? So
Yeah.
one is very biblical and one's kind of biblical, and we're going to get upset because sorry.
I love preaching the birth of Christ on Christmas because I don't think about preaching it throughout the year
I
unless
always
it's
say that-
incorporated in something.
Yeah.
And
The
so
worst guy in your community is thinking about Jesus' birth on that day.
Yes.
Use
Yeah.
it for good.
Absolutely.
Don't use it for bad. If you need to explain it's not, explain it's not and move on.
That's
Well,
right.
even the Easter stereotype of, we want to talk about the resurrection every Sunday. Shouldn't we talk about that every Sunday? Except not Easter. Not
No,
Easter.
you can't do
That
that
throws me
Sunday.
off. That throws me off.
Okay, so doing a series on James. Give me 20 possible sermon series I can preach from the book of James that will help struggling Christians.
Yeah.
Prompt 1.
And
Prompt
that can kind of section off text in an appropriate manner.
Prompt
But
2, organize those in emotional progression.
Nice.
Prompt 3, suggest modern illustrations and applications from the text for each of these.
I like that. Yeah, and those are actionable,
Yeah.
and we can take those and use those in our preaching as well. as
So
we-
AO becomes kind of your assistant. And we talked about that over and over again. It's not your preacher, but it helps you out. Helps you.
Something I need to do a little bit more often. I think I've done it once or twice or so. Before you preach, perhaps say, what does this give me 20 questions that you should ask me about my church as far as where we are, strength, or as I'm planning my sermon series. Ask me 20 questions to help me understand what are some things I probably need to preach on in the next year. Ask me, what's the age of the church? When was the last time they heard these sermons? Ask them.
Well, that's interesting.
Have AI ask you the questions that you haven't even thought of, and some of the questions may just.
I'm going to
You may
start
be
listening to this podcast. That's good stuff. That's really neat.
And
It's
that'll
coming from Caleb.
I know the young people.
I gave them the middle seat.
That's right.
That's right. But I find that kind of fascinating to think about, because I could sit here and ask, y'all too, hey, what? I could ask you about strengths of your congregations. Y'all could ask about mine, and we can do that in certain ways with AI about things that perhaps we've never thought about.
Sure.
Okay, what's the age of the church? What are weaknesses? What are strengths? What are this, that, and the other? When was the last time they heard this series? When was the last time they heard this, that, and the other? And what are, just have it ask you those.
What are the demographics of the community
Yeah.
this church is in?
Yeah.
What is the primary source of income, employment? What are these people doing? Historically, what have the people in this area dealt with? Man, that's really good.
That's a great idea.
Okay.
So I was listening to a podcast this week, and one of the things it focused on was retention. What helps keep people faithful. And it was from 3 or 4 different sources, and they all said the same thing, that if a person has a good experience when they're younger in church, they are more likely to be retentive. They're more likely to keep the faith, and that a lot of people, when they leave the faith, they just don't believe anymore. It's not the preacher made them mad. It's not the elders made them mad. It's not the pews were uncomfortable. It's just I just kind of stopped believing that way.
It seemed like I
And
read in a book somewhere, something about remembering your Creator in the days of your youth or
Yes.
something. I think.
Kind of important.
Yeah. That's neat though. I
Train up a child.
Yeah, train up.
and morning, noon, and night. So one of the things that we can do as we're creating those series is put in prompts to focus on some of those demographics. I need every once in a while to preach a sermon to kids.
Yeah.
I need to incorporate them into
So when
the
you think
community of believers.
Most people who become Christians before they're age 12, and we're preaching sermons to 40-year-olds
Yeah.
about salvation, about baptism. Have you ever preached a sermon? I need a sermon for 9, 10, 11, and 12-year-olds about baptism. That's when they're making that decision. And we're preaching a sermon that has nothing at all to do with their life and what's going on in their life.
Yeah.
When in the moment of decision, and so I said, that's too young. Deal with it. I agree, it's too young, but so what? It's
that's where
that's
we
what
are.
it is.
Yeah.
What are you going to tell them? They can't be baptized when they're 12 years old? You're not old enough yet. My dad told me that several times. So I know how that feels.
And then even coming with, okay, so here's the main goal of this sermon, perhaps on marriage, husbands and wives. Well, a lot of people ain't married as well. I recognize this sermon is designed for them. What lesson can they still take away from this that I may not be thinking of?
How can I apply this to that person?
Yeah, to anybody, you know, and that can help you think.
Yep.
So,
And I used that this week with Mother's Day. You know, I'm preaching a Mother's Day sermon. Well, what do I tell the men? What do they experience from this?
Father's
How do
Day's
they-
coming, and Mother's Day, you're going to tell how wonderful mothers are. Father's Day, we're going to tell how horrible fathers are.
loser.
Right. Here's how you should have done it as a father.
And somebody asked me why we do that. You know why we do that?
Because
Because we're dads.
Yeah.
And we understand it. We know the mistakes we make, and we know how wonderful moms are.
Yes. They're fantastic.
I did on mentorship as a whole for
Okay.
Mother's Day. I was like, mothers are mentors. I mean, 2 Timothy 1:5 was Lois and Eunice was the main text. We
Yeah?
we stuck with it. But
I heard a preacher one time say that he had gone into the building and sat down, and all the lovely ladies start coming up to him and say how much they're anticipating his Mother's Day sermon, and how excited they were to hear his Mother's Day sermon, how much they appreciated his work on their Mother's Day sermon. And he had not prepared a Mother's Day sermon, and so he sat down and wrote out an acrostic and got up and preached it, and everybody was leaving, telling him how well it was received. And the lady came up and she goes, I was paying attention, I thought, but I got Moters and I didn't hear the H in there. Yeah, I preached a Mother's Day sermon instead of a Mother's Day sermon. And so AI wouldn't have let you make that mistake. It would have caught that.
I would have spelled with 2 O's.
Yes.
oh
that's
my
probably true.
goodness.
Hallucinations.
So we get so AI is great at producing that information, giving you ideas, producing a ton of opportunities or options. How do we then make it our own? How do we make it fit our congregation? I think what Caleb was pointing out is fantastic.
Yeah.
Taking that demographic idea would really do it. And then one of the things I do enjoy about a sermon series is it forces me to use different techniques in preaching. So just like you were talking about in topics, we can get very in a rut. We can get in a rut in the way we approach text, in the way that we stylistically create a sermon, and the way that we preach. And by making this progression, hopefully it expands our reach, because not everyone thinks the same way and receives things the same way. And so if we're struggling, it means that we have to be willing to risk some failure. I've tried some things. I've tried to preach some things in certain ways, and I got done. And before AI, it wasn't because I relied on AI too much. It was just I was trying to do something differently, and it didn't work. And sometimes that's okay if it is a effort working with the best preparation toward a goal, and I think that using AI can help eliminate some of those failures.
I call it
point
swing
out
and a
some of
miss.
them.
We all,
Yeah.
and I'm going to go down swinging. I'm going to at least take an effort. Have I told you already about my friend and the model he makes? I don't know if I've talked about that on this.
I don't think
but
so.
I've got a really good friend that he decided that, Fred Craddock, who was trained preachers, Craddock said the worst kind of preaching is the same kind of preaching.
Okay.
And this guy heard me quote Craddock enough that he decided we all have, and you said it a minute ago, we all have styles we tend to fall back into. It's kind of our style, which is good. It's not a bad thing, but also it can become monotonous, and it can only feed certain people. And certain people aren't fed then because they're not preaching a style that they can grow from. So this guy developed, he found the 5 most popular styles of sermons.
Okay.
And then he put together an AI, an agent, and he described what that style is. So then he takes his 10 pages of notes on Monday or whatever, puts them in this AI and says, now, build a sermon from these notes on each of these 5 styles. Tell me which is the best approach to take that with. Kind of a neat
That's
way to
fantastic.
do that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And AI, could you imagine if you had to do that individually? How long that would take?
Yeah.
You would need a team put together to accomplish that, and probably the way that you would have to do it is I would preach it one way, Caleb, Dale, and then we would come together and say, which way do you think, and
And one else was like, oh man, that was really good.
yes,
I
yeah,
wish I'd done that.
right, and then file it away. It's
He can't go the next Sunday. It's like, I'm going to preach that sermon this different style this time.
I feel
Get
like I
ready.
struck out last time. I'm ready. I'm
Hey, there's a
t-balling it this
thought.
time.
There's a thought. I've never done that before. That would be neat. Some Sunday get up and say, last Sunday I had a sermon. I really tried. It didn't work. I'm going to give it another try.
Yeah. So I've finished preaching a sermon and sat down, and Miracle was like, "You've got to stand up and fix." Like,
Oh, really?
Yeah. You. I know what you meant.
That's
I
why
know
I'll
what
sit
you were
beside my
thinking.
wife after I preach. I go to the back.
But that is not what I heard, and I know that's not what this person or that person heard. They heard you saying this, and you can't leave it that way. And so like immediately, but I say immediate. I wish it was immediate.
Yeah.
The pride in me was like, no, it'll be fine, and she's like, no, it's not. Like, and so got up and said, look, I don't think I was clear. Like, I don't think I accomplished what I had hoped to accomplish. And so if you heard me say this, that is not what I
missed the
meant.
purpose.
Yeah.
That is not what I was trying to say. That's not what I was trying to accomplish. And so let me restate it, or let me try again, because I don't want anyone leaving here thinking that's what I was trying to say or what I was trying to accomplish. And
So in our
I went back
superhero
through it.
stuff from a couple of episodes ago,
Yeah.
Mary Carroll is Geppetto.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And so we all need that. And one, if I'd had AI back then, I could have
What are people
worked
gonna
through
hear?
some of that.
Yeah.
And it would have let me hear that. So in terms of lesson planning, year planning, sermon ideas, we can use it to give us a bunch of options. It will come up with some fantastic titles of fantastic places, and then it does help us arrange that.
Yeah.
Okay, ready to
as
talk
well.
about guardrails?
Yes.
Do it.
Probably need to move on, don't
Mhm.
we? What do we think? What guardrails you want to give us there, Sensei?
I mean, make sure that prayer is at the center of this. Of if you're planning a sermon series, I don't think it should just be because it sounds cool. It ought to ultimately be because it accomplishes something to God's glory. And okay, but we could say that about hopefully most sermon series.
Sure.
But why does it in this way accomplish God's glory? So I think that there needs a guardrail there for us preachers is to I love that there ought to be a good intimacy relationship there between preachers and elders, leaders of the church, to go and not just elders, but good friends and even those who don't think like us, to go, hey, I think this sermon series is needed coming up 3 months from now. I'd love to know y'all's thoughts. Here is my reasoning, and so I think a good guardrail is don't be your own sounding board. Talk with other people who may think differently than you, that maybe of a different generation, but have prayer at the center of it.
I think when the theme becomes more important than the purpose, then we've failed. We failed with it, and I think that's kind of what you're saying is you can have a great idea, but if it's not meeting the need, if it's not reaching people, if it's not connecting to the heart,
it's not glorifying God. Scrap it.
Accomplishing the purpose. What about any AI stuff just in the wild, like things that you have done or seen or something exciting?
My example of using it for creating the sermon series that the theme that I gave, I'd recommend that one.
Yeah.
What for y'all?
I don't really have one this week.
I've got one now because I got it from him a minute ago.
Yeah.
About knowing your congregation.
Yeah.
That's good
Demographic
stuff.
work.
That's great stuff.
I hadn't thought about using it that way, but that is so. Advertisers use demographics to formulate campaigns, and we are not a business. We're not advertising, but we are trying to reach people and hopefully cause them to change.
So I'm
their
going to
minds.
apply it. I've got a good application for this. I have for years, when I go preach a gospel meeting somewhere, for years, I will study that city where I'm going. I've done that for years.
Yeah.
I'll go on and I'll do demographics, I'll do history, I'll Google it. Has it been used in the last 5 years? Man, chat's going to help me.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to start doing this using chat and finding out more information than I had before. One of my favorites is, where did the name of this town come from? Why is this town called Jackson? Why is this town called, I was in Rancho Cucamonga, California, a few weeks ago. It's like, okay, so how does this, why did he get this name?
Yeah.
So I'll start doing that.
I like that.
Yeah.
Very neat.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
Okay, so question. We don't have one.
Well, so I had someone at Arts in the Park in Jasper come up and say that they had listened to one of our series, and his question was he's working with an eldership, and they're not super comfortable with the kids using like iPads and iPhones and things like that, and I get some of that. You don't want them playing games and things like that. Like you would hope that they are. That is the way that they're digesting information, is through screens. And so trying to change that is probably pretty difficult. How do you take a group that is kind of there and then help them, introduce them? Let's just put it that way. I think that's probably the heart of his issue. How do I introduce them to AI, to its usage, or to the fact that I'm using it?
I have a friend that's a really good guy that posted the other day that we should never let our children use AI for anything.
Oh wow!
And I understand that.
Sure.
But it's like with most anything. Now I'm not saying we expose our children to error and mistakes. I oftentimes prayed when my kids were little, God, help them make mistakes while I'm still in their life.
Yeah.
I mean, they get off to college and they've not had any experience with AI. They're going to have experience with AI in college. And if you've not taught them guardrails, if you've not taught them how to use it appropriately, what not to do, you're going to lose them.
Yeah, I suppose is kind of the imagery of gun safety here appropriate? You can make sure your kids never ever even make eye contact. They never see a gun in their lives to the best of your ability, and then they might freak out the first time they see one as an adult. Or be dangerous with, versus we can treat gun safety at an early age. Is that an appropriate imagery? Because I'm kind of leaning
Have
that
I told
way.
my gun safety story?
Oh no!
Oh,
You got a gun safety story?
Is
it a funny one or a scary one?
It's hilarious.
Okay.
You ready? It's going to take a minute, but we got a minute or two. So
Okay.
Yeah.
This is a
Go for
podcast. So Andy Miller, dear friend of mine, and I, we go on Monday nights and visit our services. So one Monday night, we're out visiting this couple with twin children age like 20 months, 18 months, little toddlers walking around, everything, all boys. So you could tell, even in the service, they're all boys. Go to this house, knock on the door. We always took banana bread, and we didn't go in the house. Just want to stop by, thank you for being our guest. See if you got any questions, we answer here at the door. No, come in. No, we don't. We just sit down. Knocked on the door, nobody came. Waited 40 seconds. Knocked a second time, nobody came. We're fixing to leave, and the door cracks open. And the guy says, "Oh, it's a preacher." He said, "Hey, stay here." Close the door back. Oh, that's kind of odd. So Andy and I are standing there. About 2 minutes later, he comes back in. He says, "All right, my wife's not here." He said, "But come in. I want to talk to you." "No, we're not here to come in. We just wanted to thank you." "No, come in." We go in. So I sit where you're sitting in this room. He's sitting here. Andy's sitting over here. The house is a wreck. It's not dirty. They just got 2 all-boy kids. Their toys strode everywhere. So the guy says, "My wife's working out. She's at the gym right now. She knew I let you in. She'd kill me." She said, "But I really want to talk to you about some things." And he said, so I threw some things, hit some stuff and brought you in. So we're sitting there talking. So we asked some questions. We're talking. After a couple of minutes, 5 minutes in, one of the little toddlers walks over and he's got a gun. One of those little toy, guns.
Okay.
And he points at me. And I look at it, and Andy's over there, being Andy, he's a great guy. And the dad, I looked at the boy and I said, "Those things look more realistic all the time." The dad literally leaps out of the chair, grabs the gun and the child. He said, "It is a real gun."
Oh no.
Oh, you said it was going to be funny. That hurts. That hurts.
It was hilarious though. It could have ended differently, but backstory. The previous day, Sunday, the guy's brother had come over. He and his brother had gone shooting. When they left the house, the twins were taking a nap. When they came back and they were putting the guns up, the twins were awake, saw the guns. Mom goes to exercise the next day. Sons are asking about the guns. He decides he's going to teach some gun safety to them. So he pulls out the guns and he's showing them guns. Preacher shows up. Well, he's got to hide the guns. Hides the guns. Well, what do 2-year-olds do?
They go find
They see where the guns are.
Yeah.
One goes over. He didn't lock the case. He's teaching his kids about gun safety. He didn't lock the case. Opens up, pulls the gun out, comes over and starts to shoot the preacher. There's my gun story for you. So,
Wow.
So be careful in teaching your children to use AI that you put the locks on.
That's right.
There we go.
Set those
Bring
guardrails.
it home.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Jordan Peterson says, let kids do things that are dangerous carefully.
Yeah.
So they need to be in danger. They don't need to live in a bubble.
Now, my
Let
son
them do
loved to
dangerous
go mudding when he was
things.
little. And
Carefully.
When he first turned 16, he said
Yes.
he loved to go mudding. And I thought he could kill himself. But I also could put him in a bubble wrap and not let him do anything. And a lot of parents do that. And we create such cloistered environments that when they get out in the wild, they're not prepared for life. And I'm not saying you drink your first beer with your son. I'm not saying that, but I am saying that within that safety net, we do the best we can to let them live.
And I think just like with gun safety, AI is a dangerous tool. It can take over. It can take over, your effort or your whatever, and could be misused. And so, just like with gun safety, we don't take somebody who's never seen or operated a gun, throw it into their hands and say, find the target. We tell them about it. We bring them in slowly. And we have to be so conversant with it. The best firearms instructors, they can break down a Glock in 10 seconds and put it back together. They know the ins and outs. They know all of the safety procedures, and that makes people feel more comfortable. So if you're trying to introduce it, one of the things that you can do is know where your boundaries are, be able to articulate those, acknowledge that it is a dangerous tool, that there are some drawbacks to it, but that when it is used carefully, it can provide great benefits. I think introducing and moving through slowly can really.
I think of your best instructors for firearms usage, you know, they're right there.
Yes.
So, you know, typically, particularly for pistols, you know, that is the easiest gun to forget where it's pointing because it's just a shorter barrel.
Right.
And so if you do this, you know, a little bit, you start pointing that way, range is over here, the range instructor just grab you and say, no, right here.
Yeah.
You know? And so there's a very close relationship there to help guide them.
Oh.
And so I think that's pretty good imagery to help our children because, man, do we need it. I've got a very good friend who's involved in education in a public school. And man, it's being misused, and our kids are
And
not getting smarter.
And it's going to be used.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's, you know, it's like it's going to be used.
They're going back to
we
blue
can
books,
make our
too.
Kids, what?
They're going back to the blue books. They're making the students write their papers in class
Good deal.
by
Yes.
hand.
Yes. Yep.
And that way they
There you
can't
go. That's right.
misuse chat.
In-person tests like that are becoming a thing across colleges, all of it. Oh yeah. To prevent cheating.
I'm
Yep.
happy to hear that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing at some point we're gonna have to start teaching kids cursive again, because we've gotten out of that.
I know a little bit.
I'm going to teach my kids to curse. That's cursive.
hilarious.
Yeah, you're right. It is. Do you know how to write cursive?
Little bit.
That's hilarious.
Yes.
It's a 25-year-old guy here.
I was taught in elementary school the beginning, and then it started going away. I recently here tried to teach myself, remind myself it. The capital letters I still kind of throw me off.
Q's.
Yeah.
The real Q, you know, with the
What is it?
Upside down.
yeah.
The Z kind of.
Yeah.
Kind of what
Yeah.
it is. Just little scrags.
Just like Zorro. You'll figure it out. All right, well, guys, we've had a good time. Enjoyed it. We've got another episode come up in a couple of weeks. Remember to
Like,
Subscribe.
comment,
Share.
and let people know that it's out there. That's a resource, especially if you like it.
Yep. Call in with questions or
Yes.
direct message one of us with a maybe a recorded message. You can do that as well, and then